My jealous fiancé's brother's wife copied my ring but with a bigger carat size, and I've had enough. My fiancé's brother is already married. His wife has repeatedly tried to start feuds with me throughout the 4 years I've been with my fiancé. She makes a competition out of everything, and is one of those women that says she doesn't have any girlfriends because they're too much drama. She constantly copies things I'm doing, buying, etc., and then tries to outdo me. I've tried ignoring it the best I can, but some things really trigger me. Example, our birthdays are a couple days apart, and for the last 2 years she has tried to pick my actual birthday date to have her party and invite all mutual friends and family. It doesn't sound like much, but these things add up. When I decide I'm throwing a barbecue, she throws one the day before. Stuff like that. Last year my fiancé proposed to me with a beautiful almost 2.5 carat radiant ring. I really didn't expect anything big and was just excited to be engaged, so he really blew me away with the ring. I had sent multiple inspiration pictures and he literally gave me my dream ring. Less than 5 days later I was hanging out with my fiancé, sister-in-law, a friend, and my sister, when she announced that she's getting a ring upgrade. They'd been married only 5 months at that point, and engaged not even a year yet, so I was confused. She went on to say she didn't get her dream ring and she and my fiancé's brother were planning this all along. She then mentioned she was considering getting the exact same ring as me, just bigger. When I pointed this out, she said, "Oh, I didn't even notice." She just kept talking about how hers was so small and how my ring shape looks bigger. My fiancé discussed this with his brother about how crazy this sounds and will look, and he said he had no clue what he was talking about and that they had talked about upgrading her ring, but that was years down the line. She got into a huge fight with me about this, saying I was trying to sabotage her and make her look bad in front of her husband. Whatever. Fast forward to now. Well, she's done it. She just posted on her social media and she's sporting an exact replica of my ring, completely different cut from her old one, but with a huge diamond. I will always treasure my ring, and wouldn't consider an upgrade at any point because of the memory and the amount of thought and effort my fiancé put into this. But my God, do I want to scream right now. Who upgrades their ring 1 year into their marriage, and why not just get a different cut if all you care about is a big diamond? Why did it have to be the same cut and type of ring as mine? Please tell me I'm not crazy and this is ridiculous. Do I confront her on this? My wedding is in 6 months and I feel like I should keep the peace, but part of me wants to tell her off.
Smoke 420 in my house? I bet you'll love smoking everything at once. Yesterday, I came home early from work and noticed that the house smelled absolutely disgusting. I'm not an idiot, I know 420 when I smell it. Trying to be as silent as possible, I slowly went up the stairs and flung my son's door open. Sure enough, he was in there with the window open lighting up a blunt. I was shocked and appalled. This was not at all the kind of person I wanted to raise. When I told my wife, she was just as upset as I was. She broke down crying and berated him for almost an hour. To be honest, I don't think most of it got through because he was pretty stoned. We confiscated his 420 and his lighter, and that was that. That night, I was thinking about an appropriate punishment when I remembered what my mom did when she caught me smoking cigarettes as a teenager. She made me smoke the whole pack at once. It was such a disgusting experience that I have never touched a cigarette since. The next day, when my son got home from school, I went up to my son with his stash of 420, which filled up a pretty large Ziploc bag, and told that he was going to smoke the whole thing. He laughed at me, but I told him I was dead serious. I sat and watched while he smoked every last nugget. I think my procedure worked, because by the end of it he looked extremely tired and almost sick. I felt bad for making him do this, but I knew it would be good for him in the long run because he would never touch substances again. Since then, he has been in his room silent for the last 16 hours. I've never been prouder of myself. My roommate calls my boyfriend our boyfriend. I, 19, have been dating my boyfriend Will, 20, for about 6 months now. I have been in relationships before, but this is definitely my first serious, and healthy, one, and I'm really happy with him. We met in our hometown, but we go to different universities that are about 2 hours apart. However, we try to see each other whenever we can, maybe about every 3 weeks.
Usually, Will come and visit me, because A, he has a car so it's cheaper / more convenient for him, plus bus routes between our cities no longer exist since Greyhound shuttered. B, a lot of his courses are still online only, whereas I have in-person lectures, and C, my house is a lot nicer than his. Whenever he visits, he stays for 4 to 5 days, which my roommates are okay with. He's also very nice and helpful. If I'm doing chores he'll help, or he'll help take out the trash / wash dishes / make me breakfast, etc. One of my roommates, Cass, 19, was dumped near the end of September, and since then, I felt like she has been weird with Will. A few examples: sometimes he'll cook for me if I'm busy at school or working late at the lab, and oftentimes he'll make enough for my roommates too. Almost every time this happens, Cass makes comments about how he's so sweet and that she wishes she had someone like him and how her ex could never. Will and I usually reassure her and say she'll definitely find someone who'll treat her right, but she just looks at him expectantly. Expecting what? I don't know. When he helps with manly stuff like taking out the trash, installing a hook in my room, moving heavy things, she always makes sure to linger around and comment about how strong he is and how I'm lucky to have such a fit partner. Whenever he visits, we literally can't avoid her. If we go out, Cass will ask to come with us. My roommates and I use an app that tracks our location for safety reasons, and when I go out with Will and don't tell her, she'll usually text me asking me where I'm doing, what my plans are, if I want to hang out, etc. We try to stay in my room, but if Will goes into the kitchen or something, Cass will always happen to wander in.
We have to lock my bedroom door when we sleep to make sure she doesn't come in. I'm not much of a drinker, but after our midterms Cass wanted to have a little thing with just the roommates. It was fun, we drank a little and watched movies. I'm pretty lightweight so I got sloshed pretty fast and at some point I was calling Will, and when Cass found out I was calling him she was like, "Is that Will?" And kept ripping the phone from my hands very aggressively. She's a lot stronger than I am, and really loudly started talking about her intimate life and asking him about his, saying shit like make sure you hit it deep. This is pretty in character for Cass, who claims to enjoy making people uncomfortable and makes these kinds of comments for shock value, but I felt like she should have turned it off around my boyfriend. She was only tipsy at this point, not really drunk. Overall, anytime he's nice to her she'll say things like haha it's almost like you're my boyfriend, and whenever she refers to him around me she'll call him our boyfriend as a joke, but I still feel weird about it. Will finds this all very uncomfortable and tries his best to avoid Cass as best he can or shut her down when she makes those comments. I'm not sure if I should bring it up with her, because on one hand, I'm very uncomfortable, but on the other hand, I feel like she'll just deny everything or say it's all for jokes and maybe get hostile with me. I was alone with one of my roommates, Jen, and I started to bring up Cass' behavior around Will. I didn't even get a sentence in before Jen stopped me and said I know. She's been weird. Apparently, Jen and our fourth roommate Eva have discussed this before, but they weren't sure if I even noticed because I didn't seem to react. Jen is definitely the closest to Cass. We all went to high school together, but I was only really friends with Eva at that time. She said she brought it up privately with Cass after Will's last visit, and Cass just did that thing where she talks and incoherently defends herself. Eva and Jen agreed to step in if crap got out of hand with her. Cass was very excited for Will's visit, and would say stuff like, "Oh, I can't wait to see him," or "just a few more days. I have a test from 7 to 9 p.m. on his second day here," and apparently she talked to Jen about picking out a movie for the two of them to watch while I wrote my biochem test. She settled on Sinister 2 for anyone wondering. Jen said that she was out of line, but again, Cass just incoherently defends herself. Every time she made comments like that, my roommates and I would just silently give her a look and say okay, anyways, and change the subject, which seemed to at least make her self-conscious. Cass was all over him as soon as he got here, pouting and saying, "Where's my hug?" Jen hugged her instead, and we used this time to escape into my room. Day 2 rolls around, and as soon as I'm out of the house, she tries to get Will to watch the movie with her, saying she really wants to watch it but doesn't think she can do it alone. Will politely declines and continues playing video games in my room, and she leaves. Throughout the rest of the visit I'm firm with her, telling her she can't come on our dates, saying she's being weird when she makes comments about how hot he is or how he's our boyfriend. Will has also done what one commenter suggested and just point blank says that he's my boyfriend and that he'll never be hers. At some point, he's so aggravated he stops talking to her or acknowledging her at all because he was worried he would yell at her. I've never heard him raise his voice before this. As time wore on, I felt like she got increasingly desperate for Will's attention. This is the absolute craziest part. Just now, while I was showering, Cass went into my room, where Will is, in her underwear and a bathrobe, saying she knows he's playing hard to get but that he can't resist her. Barf. Will started yelling at her to get the heck out, which alerted myself and my roommates. Eva and Jen dragged a tearful Cass out of my room. She even called me a skinny B-word on her way out. I think they're going to drop her off at a friend's house tonight. I'm just effing floored. I really did not expect her to go nuclear like this, but goddamn.
My manipulative fiancé has been super secretive about his phone throughout our entire relationship. I snooped through and the reason broke my heart. I'm feeling oddly at ease right now, even though my heart has just been shattered. From the very beginning, my fiancé and I had a fantastic relationship. I had never been happier in my life. We have lived together for 2 years and adopted 2 dogs together. We still talk and laugh every single day like school children, and we have great intimacy constantly. So what the F went wrong? Since the beginning of our relationship, my fiancé has always been protective of his phone. It isn't much of an exaggeration to say that I don't even think I know what his phone looks like. I couldn't tell you confidently what brand it is or what color it is. He would never answer texts or calls in my presence and always stated that it's simply because he's trying to be respectful and doesn't want to be one of those couples who are sucked into their phones instead of enjoying each other's company. I understood and accepted this until we moved in together, and he still would hardly ever use his phone around me, and when he did, he would turn it the other way so that I couldn't see the screen. He always claimed he wasn't doing this, however, and still said he's just trying to be respectful but that he'll try to be better about it. There have been a few times where I have walked into the room from behind him while he's been on his phone, and I could swear I saw him very quickly switching apps, before putting his phone away. He's always denied this as well. He never tells me who he's talking to, or says it's his parents or best friend who both live in his home country, so I have no one to ask to confirm who he's talking to. He's always super supportive and reassuring and tells me that it's just him being weird and quirky, but he promises that he's not being inappropriate. Contrary to all of this, I am very open with my phone. I am always comfortable showing him what I'm watching or who I'm texting. I will hand him my phone to Google something for me or do whatever the hell. I try to respect his privacy because I definitely feel that it is important, but at the same time, I have always felt that he was being a little sketchy. I have never been one to snoop either, so that never occurred to me, and I've just accepted that my fiancé just really values his privacy, and I need to accept that, because he has given me no reason to distrust him. Until yesterday. I don't know what came over me. I'm telling you, it was like I was possessed. It was an urge like nothing I've ever felt before. I don't know why I did it. But he went to take a shower and left his phone on the table, and I did it. Snatched it right up, guessed his passcode, and went through every single thing: text messages, call log, email, photo albums, even his notepad. And I found it. I found everything. A full-blown effing affair that's been going on as far back as I looked. Nothing was hidden. He's been effing her at her house, all over our house, in our bed, in our car, in her car, and at her parents' house. Yeah, he met her family. They love him apparently. He effed her in the brand new bed I bought for our new house before we even effed in it, and also joked about christening our new house with her. It's mostly been happening while I've been at work. He tells her he loves her, that he's never been happier with anyone else, that he wants to marry her and have babies with her and the whole 9 yards. And yes, she knows about me. They spend quite a bit of time talking about how boring, fat and ugly I am, and how tired he is of dragging along through life with me, and how much better she is than me. They routinely make jokes about how bad I am at intimacy, with him saying that he can't find it underneath all of my roles. He says he can't wait when he's going to get out of this hellhole with me and take both of our dogs and ride off into the sunset. With her. She also sounds surprisingly, and hilariously, insecure for being the woman who's been effing my fiancé in my bed for God knows how long. I hope my fiancé is as good at reassuring her as he was at reassuring me. I put his phone down and quietly waited. When he came out and greeted me with his usual "Hi babe," I suddenly felt like I had swallowed an entire bucket of 10-inch CCKS and didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I was ready to scream and shout and confront and point fingers and cry. But when he came out, I didn't do anything. He plopped on the couch next to me and just asked me if I was ready to continue our show, and we just went about the rest of our day. I haven't slept since. I projectile vomited last night because I realized that the spot on the sheets a couple weeks ago that he told me was one of our dogs uncharacteristically peeing the bed might be. Oh. Oh no. Jesus effing Christ. He hasn't even noticed that something is up, and I can't even believe that I've hidden it so well. I haven't even cried yet.
Cheat on me when I have cancer? Let's see how you like it when you're disabled. Plus update. My girlfriend and I dated for 4 years and had what I thought was a great relationship. We were both well-established professionals who both owned homes in the same neighborhood and both had daughters in the home. Her daughter was 11 and mine was 16 when we met. We had actually planned to get married, build a house, and raise the two together. We planned the house build because she had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually put her in a wheelchair, and needs something ADA-friendly. During the planning stages, I began doing landscape and construction projects on her home to increase the resale value. All in, I invested roughly $30,000 into the home, running everything through my side construction business for tax, permitting, and resale purposes. We had a contract that payment would be made upon the sale of the home. I produced invoices for each and every project, but never pushed for payment because of the prior agreement. Fast forward 6 months and we're looking at property to develop and finalize drawings on the home when I began feeling ill. I couldn't eat, constantly vomiting and passing blood. I began noticing that my abdomen looked swollen, which was odd because we were both very clean eaters and were in the gym every day. So I went to the doctor and began having tests done. During this time, she began having small cognitive issues, and the stress of her current position was exacerbating her condition, so she took a $20,000 per annum cut in pay along with a lesser position inside the company. After a month or so of different tests, and a biopsy, it came back that I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach, and would need to begin chemotherapy. So I began chemo and radiation treatments, which made me extremely ill. She was spending time helping around my place on the weekends and staying over more, to the point that they were both at my home, more than theirs. At this point, I suggested that we go ahead and put one of our houses on the market, and move in together until the new house was built. I have great supplemental insurance as well as a long-term illness plan, so using that coupled with the sale of one of our houses would push us through comfortably, and help ease the financial stress on her. Shortly after this discussion, she became extremely distant. Her daughter wasn't coming down and hanging out with mine anymore, she had excuses for not getting together. She quit driving me to treatments and stopped staying over. She then dropped a bomb. A sentence that will forever be burned into my psyche: I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term, and I don't think we should see each other any longer. She broke up with me over text. But it only got worse from there. Update: her breaking up with me completely broke me, I won't lie. This was the first woman I had ever opened up to and planned a life with since my wife died when my children were 1 and 3. However, I tried to be mature about it. I forced myself to understand her position and to accept what I could not change. I calmly gathered all of her things, packed them neatly, loaded them in my truck, and took them to her house to leave on the back porch while she was at work in order to avoid any awkward exchanges. Walking around the back and under the porch cover, I put down a box and saw her in her back living room, on the couch having sex with a man that she had introduced to me as a lifelong friend. I had dinner and drinks with this man and his girlfriend. We had gone on vacation with them as well. I never spoke of the incident with her, and simply sent her a text later, explaining that I would leave her things on my side porch to pick up at her convenience. I discovered 8 or 9 months later from his now ex-girlfriend that they had broken up due to him confessing that he had been sleeping with my girlfriend, dating back to about the time we were finishing drawings on the new home. Now I'm pissed. At this point, I had finished chemo and radiation for the time being and was feeling healthier. I was going through some much neglected paperwork when I ran across a file that contained $32,680 in unpaid, long overdue invoices, which were promptly sent to my attorney to begin lien proceedings on the home. It turns out that I couldn't have done this a moment too soon because she was set to put her house on the market. Coupled with interest over the course of, what was then, 19 months overdue, the invoices were hefty. That, along with the agreement of settling them when the house was sold and attorney fees, left her with roughly $10,000 after the sale of the home and settling her current mortgage. She promptly had to back out of the purchase of another home and moved in with her oldest daughter, sister-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. She also had to leave her job and begin receiving disability. I ran into her a little over a year ago and she looked as if she had aged 20 years, and was in the wheelchair we had talked about. We chatted cordially but briefly and I excused myself and went on with my day. A few days later, her younger daughter called me and spoke of my running into her mom, and asked if we could hang out sometime. I gave a vague answer, thanked her for calling and again, went on with my day. The ex then called me a week or so later and began apologizing for leaving me as she did. Again, cordial but short. I thanked her for calling and hung up. She began texting and this went on for several weeks until once she asked if I could ever see us rekindling what we had, to which I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your back porch? Did you think that your friend brought that over to you from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye.